So much initial rejection. I don't want to sugarcoat it. You're going to think about quitting a lot. Like, that should not be actual signal to quit.
I'm about to sit down with a founder who raised over $550,000 and secured celebrity Kerry Washington as her lead investor. Amy of Cheersy is a Power to Pitch alum, and this conversation is packed with what actually makes a difference behind the scenes. If you're raising right now or even thinking about giving up, this conversation is your sign to keep going.
I am Amy Egan, and I'm the founder and CEO of Cheersy, which is a digital marketplace to book a quality, vetted, trained day of wedding coordinator.
What were you battling internally when you wanted to go the investor route and you're trying and maybe seeing some initial rejection?
Oh, so much initial rejection. I don't want to sugarcoat it. It was really hard. I learned everything the hard way, which has always been the way I've learned every lesson in life and in business. First of all, I didn't even know you could get outside capital, but good thing because no one would have given it to me anyway. And I had $5,000 saved up from literally dog walking for 10 years. And I was 23 years old and I was working 3 jobs in New York and I just started. And the first year I had 3 clients. I'm going to call them clients. They didn't really pay me, but I learned a lot and I didn't have much experience. So that's fine. With Cheersy, it was a little bit different because I needed capital to, first of all, be able to, like, on the website side, I knew I could do it as cheaply as possible by going through a no code, but that still requires subscription fees, still requires a certain amount of platform fees that you need to take into account. And then on top of that, I felt like just in terms of what we were trying to get in front of people, there was a certain level of marketing that was going to be necessary to make sure that the right eyeballs were on this. And I wasn't in that place as a first time founder where no one was paying attention to me. There's a real advantage to that place. And because of Modern Rebel success, people were paying attention in some ways.
Was there ever a moment that you considered either quitting or not going the investor route because of maybe too many no's or frustrations or a lack of knowledge? Like, what kept you in it?
No, no. You're going to think about quitting a lot. Like, that should not be actual signal to quit. I was always thinking about it, and it was really, really, really hard. I mean, it took a while to get that initial momentum. And once I was able to prove some traction, that's when the momentum really started, which is always my advice to other founders. Like, how can you show, not tell? Because I felt like I was telling so much versus showing. And once I started just showing, people were like, oh, yeah, this is actually a good business.
What's one piece of advice you'd go back to give yourself to push through that self-doubt?
A phrase that I come back to a lot is this quote that says, your hard work is unlocking doors that you can't see yet. The thing about life is that you get these zoom out moments when you step back from it all. And that can take a year from something, that can take 2 years, that can take 3 years, that can take 6 years. I mean, that can take some time when you're really in it. But the deepest and most challenging times I've ever had as an entrepreneur, the lowest times, have truly given me the most eventual opportunity. They have actually been carving out a path that I didn't see initially. The proof is there if I can just dig deep and stick with it and grit my teeth. That's what I would remind myself probably is like, hey, there are doors you cannot see yet. You are unlocking them. It doesn't feel that way, but stick with it.
And I want to know the story of how Kerry Washington, the big celebrity, became your lead investor. What was the playbook behind that? Because you had no more warm mutual connection to her.
No, it was not like a friend of mine. It was like, here's some money. No, that story is pretty incredible. It's definitely a testament to the power of relationships. My first business, like I said, I worked with hundreds of couples. One of those couples happened to be a couple that found me on Google. This is way back several years ago, stayed in touch with them. And this person in particular is somebody that I just admired. I worked with her on her wedding and I ended up just kind of staying in touch with her. And so when I was going out to honestly start the conversation around this second business and bringing in potential partners, I went to a few key people in my network and I said, who do you know that I should know that I don't know? And also, how can I do the same for you? I don't think my network at that time was maybe as robust, but always wanting to pay it forward. And to Joanna's credit, who is a fantastic human and now is one of my advisors. She worked in she's Michelle Obama's press secretary, and she has a very robust network. And she was the one that said, oh, you should talk to this person. She knows everybody. And to be honest, I thought I tanked the call. I didn't feel like there was a direct ask. I didn't feel like we had to clear a goal. I left the call and I was like, what a waste. I totally blew that. I was like, I'm not letting this be it. So I emailed this person in particular who was leading the call, who Joanna had introduced me to. And I completely made up that I was going to be in LA in 2 weeks or something. Like, I'm going to be in LA. And I knew she was kind of funny. And so I made this ridiculous subject line, something like in and out heist, you in, or something like that. Like, please just open the email. I get an email and she's like, I'm in. When are you here? And then I'm like, okay, how do these dates work for you? And then I book a flight. We have a very quick lunch. And at the end of it, she says, oh, and by the way, we really hit it off. It's 10 times better than the Zoom call that we had. She wants to be supportive of what I'm building. And she says, also, I have this powerful women dinner I'm hosting, on Tuesday. Are you going to be in town? And I was not supposed to be in town. I was supposed to leave the next day. But that dinner ended up connecting me to Kerry Washington's director of social impact, who happened to be engaged. So we had a lot to talk about. She ended up becoming a dear friend. She said to me that night, you've got to connect with Kerry. She makes angel investments. I know I was just starting really on the fundraising path at that point. And she made that intro. And then eventually that led to my first check, which was Kerry Washington. So that was pretty wild and all worth it.
And one really, really important thing that I want to call out that not a lot of founders think about is like they send this mass outreach to investors, whereas you knew your audience that she needed something a little bit creative and you went risky on something that might have felt a little off to the average person or average investor with the whole purpose of standing out just to get that email open. And that like was the domino effect really that put other things in place. And I think that that's so, so smart because you made it funny. It was memorable. It was not passive. It was direct. You took action on it. And so many founders underestimate that. And I think that's such a big inflection point for you. And I know you continue to do it and you're really good at it and you've got those skills. It's just something not to glaze over because you did it so, so, so well. Kerry's your first check. Did you feel a little more pressure, imposter syndrome, trying to get more checks that, she's watching? Or after that check hit, how did you feel in starting to get some money?
Oh, yes, of course I felt pressure at that point. It's not like I opened it and it closed especially for your first round. I opened it and 2 months later it was closed. Like maybe people have that network and they were just able to do that. For me, it was over a year. I mean, it really was. And I got that first check and then I got a few more. And really with those initial investors, they were fantastic. And Kerry being one of them in being a thought partner to me and how I was even thinking about the fundraise and thinking about telling the story and making it more compelling. And I actually paused fundraising to come to Power to Pitch actually, and at the same time was building the no code MVP. So basically took those initial checks and got to work a little bit. I wanted to tighten up my pitch. I didn't feel like it was tight enough or strong enough. Then I wanted to go back out and prove even more traction. And that absolutely proved to be the right decision. And I'm so glad that I did that. The best thing you can do as a founder, the more and more I talk to investors and partners and things, just being yourself is so important. The right people will find you.
So you did a lot of big work inside Power to Pitch, letting
Yes.
us really rip apart the story in the best way. But what would you say, what part of the process helped you the most?
I'm really such a fan of Power to Pitch. So I just have to say it myself. And I've recommended it to people. 60-second pitch, right? Like that was tough to be able to get that down and feel confident in that and have that picked apart. That was extremely, I would say that and then the actual intros and the advocacy that I got from the Power to Pitch team was huge. I felt like I had real genuine advocates because you knew my business kind of inside and out and you could advocate for me genuinely because we had been working together and you'd seen the transformation too from how the story had been told.
For a founder who's watching this right now who feels like they're stuck or not fundable or being taken seriously or they have to trade motherhood for fundraising, what would you tell them?
I would tell them that you're never going to be 100% in any bucket. So you have to let that go. First of all, like give yourself a little bit of grace and just understand that you're not going to be able to be at that perfect 10 in every single bucket. What I think matters is that you feel like you're in the driver's seat in each of those cars that you're driving in your life. And if you're in the back seat of your business, What do you need to get back in the driver's seat? I've felt that before. And that is the worst feeling in the world, when you feel like you are in the back seat of a car that you built. So what do you need to do to get back in the driver's seat? Maybe you're feeling that way because you've been rejected over and over and over again by investors. Well, maybe you need some proof of traction that's going to allow you to feel like, I can tell this story more confidently and I don't feel like I need your money as much. That is an incredible way to lead, to gain your confidence back. And so do that if you need to do that. Maybe the same can be true. I think getting back in the driver's seat has been a model that I have tried to live by, because it allows me to feel a sense of control and know that I'm doing what I can. And it's a little messy. It's a little chaotic. If you wanted a simple life, don't sign up for entrepreneurship. Don't sign up for motherhood and entrepreneurship. It's messy. Like it's chaotic. I'm pregnant with twins right now. I have a almost 4-year-old. I live in New York City. Spaces are tight. We have a lot going on, and I wouldn't trade it for a minute. I love it. I love living this wild, wacky life, and it's hard as hell, like for sure. But at the end of the day, like when I'm dead in the ground, I know I'm going to feel like, you know what? I really went for it. And that's the best. That's the best feeling.
For a founder who's struggling with their fundraiser to communicate their business and close some checks, what would be your advice to them if they're considering power to pitch?
First would be to do your research on your own business, and first make sure that it is a business that is fundable. Not every business is. There's a lot of different pathways to funding. There's loans, there's grants, there's angel investors, there's VC money. There's a lot of different paths. And I think a lot of people think, oh, start a business, raise money. No, no, no. If you've determined that it is a path that you have to take, raising money, then the advice I'd give you if you're considering power to pitch is to dive right in and apply and get feedback immediately. Worth every penny, because not only did it tighten my storytelling, build my confidence back, it gave me not only founders that were invested in me and my success, but also other founders around me in the Power to Pitch program who are also rooting for me and excited for me. I felt so less alone.
Lastly, what's next for you and Cheersy, and how can people support and follow your journey?
Cheersy.com. Check it out. If you are in New York City, Hudson Valley, Vermont, you can book a day of wedding coordinator directly through our platform. We also have launched what we're calling Club Cheersy, which is a Slack community for brides, grooms, anyone that's engaged across the country. If you are planning a wedding, we have this incredible Slack community that's moderated by wedding planning experts, where you can buy, sell, swap items. There's localized channels. So whether we're in your location or not, you can access that group.
It's no small feat. Seriously, having these founder stories and journeys and the level of transparency and grit that you bring is the most rewarding parts of what I do. Like, it truly gets me out of bed each day, and hearing those transformations and that effort and that the work that you put in is paying off. And I'm just so proud to know you and continue to support and celebrate you, Amy. So I'll put all the links below, so be sure to check and follow Amy as she continues the Cheersy journey.
Thank you so much, Kat. Thank you. I'm so happy I got to do this with you. It means a lot.